What's funny? I made this Studio Mercury bucket hat, and I initially I hated it because it just made me feel like I was an explorer of sorts because the bitch was just like out. But sometimes you gotta grow into it because I love it now, and I'm wearing it in the winter like a crazy person now. So there's that. What's up, everybody? It's me, Jamal McKean Shabazz, aka Crow Jones, back with another Crow's Nest entry. I'm doing something different, I guess. I've had a lot of people tell me this over the years. They feel like I should do these, but now we're here, and I feel like fuck it, let's try it. Basically, I'm going to talk about album music, an album in particular that I really thoroughly enjoy from a certain artist. And so, gonna start with this guy named Lekman. And anybody who knows me knows how much I swear by this guy. Like, I think he's one of my favorite artists. I feel like he's not talked about enough, especially in America. He's from Sweden, right? I think dude's been making music for like a really, really long time. Like, we're talking like 2000. We look at the wiki, 2004, probably earlier than that, because he has he's been making music since he's been releasing stuff since 2000. So he's like a whole vet. And so what he was doing back in the days actually was he's got a lot of EPs. So he did a bunch of little EPs, like some of them self-released, and then he ended up signing with Secretly Canadian and whatnot. And I'm like, so he's got a lot of material, but he's got about 4 official albums out. First time I heard him was back in 2011, because that was when I first started expanding on what kind of music I was listening to. I credit to Kid Cudi, because I realized that some of my favorite songs from Kid Cudi, he sampled from. His samples weren't hip hop, you know what I mean? And I was already listening to MGMT back then, and Rat-a-Tat, and that's who he collaborated with, and he sampled. And I remember he sampled. He rapped over Vampire Weekend, you know what I mean? He was just doing a lot of stuff that I thought was really. He just wasn't pulling from conventional music, so that inspired me to start expanding my taste, because I was like, well, I like the samples, so that must mean I might like the actual source. And sure enough, the song Mania by Kid Cudi is by he sampled St. Vincent's song Strangers, which is one of my favorite songs ever, because it's just so good, and I just love St. Vincent so much. I'm probably gonna do a whole video on her next time, at some point, because she's just dope. Anyway, so that's how I discovered Jens Lekman. Was that was during my time of just being on iTunes and just online in general, and just finding stuff. And so the first song I heard from him was a song called Postcard to Nina, which is on his album. I'm probably gonna mess the name up. His album called Nightfalls of Kortedala. I might have said that wrong, maybe, but I'll put the link down so you can see. He describes it as it was basically a collection of recordings from 2004 to 2007, basically. This is probably one I feel like is one of his strongest projects in terms of as a body of work. He's also got another one that's really good too. I'll put a link down to. Best way I can describe his music is that it's indie pop, it's Brit pop, right? It's essentially kind of alternative. It has pop sensibilities, but it doesn't have a pop sound. A lot of his stuff is to me just feels very it's very pleasant, very witty. His subject matter is very witty, very romantic, because I'm a big sap. I oftentimes look at him like he's kind of like the Swedish Frank Ocean to a degree. Just very, he's very good at coming up with these really kind of romantic It's funny, just pure subject matters, you know. And you know, it just speaks to my soul. It's kind of like, you know, if my heart, in the words of JD from Scrubs, if my heart could write songs, it'd sound like that. But so this album is dope. It's like 12 tracks deep, about 50 minutes, so it's not too long of an album per se, well, at least not for me. Let me see. I'll give you some of my favorite tracks on here. Again, it's probably his most well-known album in terms of just like people kind of knowing about him. I don't really see a whole lot of people talking about him, but this is probably, you probably heard like some of the songs that have been out on this one. Like I think one song is on the soundtrack to this one movie. I can't remember, but anyway. So no, yeah, some of my favorite songs is I Remember Every Kiss, which is literally him talking about him remembering his first kiss, and then he also is associating that with like saying that no matter how old you get, you're always going to remember that first kiss, which is true, because I remember mine, and him associating with being like, you know, a soldier can go into war, they get a gun and they name it after their girlfriend, because they're always going to remember that. It's just embedded, basically. And then Postcard to Nina was the first song I ever heard from him, and that song was funny because he's talking about how his friend, who's a lesbian, invites him over to you know, basically hang out with her and her dad, but she doesn't tell him that her dad doesn't know she's a lesbian, so he's basically pretending to be her boyfriend. But she tells him this right before they go inside. Like, she picks him up from the airport and then tells him right before they go through the door, basically, kind of thing, that, oh yeah, by the way, my dad thinks you're my boyfriend, so I need you to pretend to be my boyfriend. And he's like, huh? Like, so he's stumbling and figuring out how to commit to go along with this situation. So it's funny. Let me see. I'm Leaving You Because I Don't Love You, which is pretty much self-explanatory. It's just a lovely sounding song, man. Breakup song, basically. How can I describe his voice, man? It's like I feel like he's got some power in his voice, because he kind of sings from here, kind of thing, obviously. But like, because you know, people have different ways of how they go about singing and how they project or whatever. So like, it's very it's like it has a strength to it, and there's a delicateness to it to a degree, you know what I mean? Like, can't describe it. It's great, but he has some strength. I feel like there's some strength in there. He's not like, you know, doing like crazy vocals and shit like that, but there's a strength in his voice that just kind of helps deliver it. And he also kind of, because he's funny, you know, so like he's able to take awkward situations and then translate them well into music. So then like If I Could Cry, it would feel like this, which is one of my favorite tracks on there. It's just a magical sounding, the production is just magical. It's just great stuff, man. Your Arms Around Me, that one, I feel like people probably have heard that one, but that one has another story to it, where basically, like, I think the idea is that his girlfriend, he's in the kitchen with his girlfriend, he's chopping up food for like dinner or whatever, and then like she comes up from behind him and puts her, you know, she hugs him from behind, so hence Your Arms Around Me. But she scared him when he did that. She scared him when she did that, and he ends up cutting his finger off by accident. So they have to like go to the hospital, and he passes out and all that stuff. Like, it's funny, and it ends very sweetly. Like, it's a very sweet ending and all that. And then you have Sharon, which is that I think that's what I'm talking about. I think his friend is like cutting his hair, and she's actually, I think she's from another country. I think she's like a refugee or something. And he's just like talking about the wars and stuff like that, and then you see, you know, it affects her because I think she had to leave home and all that. So this really, but it's really magical sounding song. The whole shit, the album just sounds fucking magical and pleasant. It's just great. And then one of my favorite songs on here, which I'm not even gonna begin to try to pronounce because it's in Swedish language. It's Swedish language. I don't know I can't even begin to pronounce it. But the English translation is "Maybe I'm in Love with You," which is it's one of my favorite tracks on there. Once again, just magical sounding. It's just magical production. It sounds like it's sampled, but it's not. Like there's samples on this joint, but a lot of them it's not actual samples. It just has a warm feeling to them. But it's probably one of the more sappier tracks on there, where he's just like trying to talk to this girl basically that he likes, and him just basically coming up with like little random things to talk to her about, and he's just like, you know, what do you say? Came up with a whole story where he was like talking about this little kid who got attacked by a dog, and so the little kid has a pet pig for a pet basically, because that's only pet he could ever get basically. And then he's like, well, you know, this has nothing, of course, to do with anything. I just get so nervous when I'm talking to you. All I do is think about every day is just kissing you. You know, that kind of thing. Stuff that's right up my alley, because again, I'm a big sap, so I just love stuff like that. And that's generally how I be feeling when I like someone. Like when I'm probably in the infatuation phase. You know what I'm saying? I just felt it on a spiritual level. And one of my favorite lines on the song is gonna be like, the best way to touch your heart is to make an ass of myself. You know, just precious. You know what I'm saying? Just precious. But yeah, I really, really like this album. And I think if you're just looking for something different to listen to, I highly recommend it. Again, I don't think not enough people know about him like that. But he's one of those deep cut artists that I be rocking with. Yeah, and so that's why I think you should totally check out Nightfalls of Kortedala if I'm pronouncing that correctly. I'll put the link and all that in the bottom so you can get a you know, go explore that if you wish. But yeah, that's one of my favorite albums. So yeah, check that out. I'm gonna cut the video here. Again, hope you're having a great day and all that, and do your thing, and comment below, let me know what's up, and we'll talk soon. Peace. Oh, and Into Eternity. That's another one on the album. That shit is magical as well. I'm probably going to get married to that in the sense of, you know, the dance stuff. That's gotta be in the playlist. That and If You Ain't From My Hood by Project Pat.